Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited because I have Jimmy Hudson on the line. Say hello, Jimmy.
Hey, what's up,
It's
everybody? Thanks
it's
for
it's
having me.
happening live right now. You're getting the full effect, um,
Yes.
and I'm excited because I've been trying to really just hit all sorts of people in the game industry in this Q&A,
Uh-huh.
and whether
Yeah.
it's content creators or board game designers or publishers, and so you're I think the second or third content creator, and you're doing a lot of really interesting stuff right now, and I've got a lot of questions for you. So
Well, let's go.
yeah, let's go. To start, though, I mean, you've been doing Board Game Closet for almost about the same amount of time I've been doing Lift Up, like 3 or 4 years, right?
Yep. Yep. It's been about this fall will be 4 years for us.
And is that like your entry into the board game hobby as a creator, or is there some history before that? Like, how did
Uh,
you come? Take us through that. I asked Forrest the same question. How did you get into like doing the video thing?
well, my friend Rod was actually the guy who wanted to do it all. And so me and him, we've been doing it for like 4 years now. Another guy, Tim, started out with us. And it was his idea. He said, "Hey, let's do this." And I said, "Okay, I know how to work a video camera and I know how to edit video. So let's see what we can do." And
And
so that was about 4 years ago.
And when you said I know how to work a video camera and edit videos, is that like from family photos, or is that what you did professionally? Like, do you have any background in editing or filmography or whatever?
No, yeah, I don't even know what you call it. Yeah, but not really. I guess, I mean, we had just done videos for church, school, college, stuff like that. That was really my only experience doing it, and but knew how to do it. So here we go.
And so in terms of your channel, I mean, the focus has mostly been on reviews and Kickstarter previews, right? And then at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point you started doing a podcast. That was like in the last year, right?
Yeah, it's been, gosh, we're on episode number 29 now. So we haven't even made it a year yet into this thing,
And then
but
weekly or so.
Yeah, for a while it was weekly. Now I'm kind of bi monthly, but for about 25 episodes, I was doing it every single week, and it was a lot. But yeah, so that's been fun. That's been a whole new venture to try
Yeah.
doing audio podcasts. But now that I think has been, I don't know what the word is, but it's gotten me more enthusiastic about the hobby even recently, just to do that every week. So,
Awesome, awesome, and you have the voice for it, of course. But
well, thank you.
but okay, and that's a whole area. I've got like 4 or 5 different areas of questions. I don't know if we're going to get to them all,
Uh-huh.
but um, in terms of that transit, and so right now you're basically doing both the video stuff and the podcast stuff, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and recently you sort of teamed up with the other Hudson, James Hudson from
Uh-huh.
Druid City Games, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that was just kind of something that kind of I wasn't even pursuing, but just kind of came about. And so to do a sponsorship with them where basically they sponsor the podcast. And so we talk about them and some of the things that they do on the Board Game Spotlight. And so that's been kind of neat to be able to venture into that because I've never done anything promotional wise, sponsorship wise. So that's a new territory for
And
us. And it's been neat.
and I mean, to whatever extent you're comfortable. I mean, presumably when you say sponsored, um, you're getting paid some amount of money to do these things, right? I mean, is that what we mean by sponsored, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're paying a monthly kind of deal to get us to talk about some of their projects that they're doing, which is actually very mutually beneficial to me because I'm constantly looking for designers and companies to interview, and then they're highlighting their projects and they actually send them to us, and so that's kind of a cool where it works out for both of us, where
Sure.
we get to talk about their projects and I get to interview people and talk about current up-to-date projects that are on Kickstarter.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I said that I did my sort of paid and talking about sort of the reviewer space, and to some degree or another, you need the content, right? You need to have things to talk about. But let's rewind a second because I want to get back into the question. So that's sort
Uh-huh.
of, is there any other aspect, and then you just game. You're just a gamer otherwise, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and you're you also, just for those who don't know, you're like super active with your church and going to different, setting up, like building towns, or what. This is me following you on Facebook, or like what's your day
Uh-huh.
to day non-gaming thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I work at a church. I'm a youth pastor, and so I get to do all kinds of crazy stuff with that. So we travel, we do missions trips, both stateside, and we go across the pond. We go all different places, and so that's kind of cool, especially to be able to get to help people. And then it really works well with board gaming, to be honest, because I'm all about building relationships with people. I just want to, get to know people. What are their stories? What are they going through? And then to be able to sit down and play a game with people. What better way to get to know people than to spend a couple hours playing board games? So.
And have you ever considered, not to jump at, but have you ever considered using your podcast to talk about that stuff? Sort of mixing it. You want to keep them separate, keep them apart.
I guess. I mean, it's a polarizing topic for a lot of people, politics and religion and things like that. So I don't necessarily want to merge the two, but it's not like I'm hiding anything either. I just think that, you know what I mean? So I think it's, people that know me, like, you follow me on Facebook and we get to know each other. I think that they obviously figure out that there's something else that I do other than just board game content.
Sure. You still got a Star Wars poster behind you, right? You can't be that bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's get to these questions. So, all right. One of the things that's been impressing me lately, and I'm super curious about, is you have been going on this effort. I wanted to say mission, but maybe that's the wrong context. But you've been going on this effort to upgrade your gear and your content and your quality. Yeah. Presumably you're just doing that because you want it to be better, right? I mean, right. That's really the main motivator. Or is there any other?
No, I mean, I think ultimately, being able to, I don't know. I look back at stuff that we made like 4 years ago, right? And I cringe. And I've even asked people this question, should I take down some of the stuff? Because it's just so, I don't know, it's just so raw. It was just us starting. And so when I look back at that, there's just something in me that says, well, I just want to get better. And then when I see some of the content that other people are creating that's just got, just the quality, high def.
Don't
we're in
look
this.
At my content, man.
No, but we're in this whole 4K world, right? Where everybody kind of looks at that stuff. And I don't know, it's just something about me. And that's not to say that everybody's got to do that, because everybody doesn't. And some of the best people that are out there doing this are not shooting 4K and doing all that kind of stuff. But there's just something in me that says, I want to make stuff that I'm going to look back maybe 4 years from now and say, well, we got better. We weren't,
and actually,
the way that we started.
If you listen to the Dice Tower and a lot of the stuff that Tom talks about ongoing, one of the things he'll bring up a lot is that effort to always be better, right? Always improve, but really tangibly. Say you're a Kickstarter content creator who doesn't do any of that stuff and is still filming off their cell phone and doesn't have the money. How did you go about figuring out what to upgrade it? What's your beginner's 101 from getting off filming on your phone or Forrest filming on his iPad? What are take us through what you'd recommend? Because I'm taking notes right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's where you're at though. Start with what you've got and then look at it. And then there are, just YouTube. Where we put out most of our content, it's just full of stuff where people could tell you can go to the local hardware store and buy this kind of a light, and put it here and focus. Yeah. There's just little things that you can do even with what you've got that can up the quality of what it is, and then it's really just about funds, how much money do you want to spend making your content better? What can you invest in it? And so that's what I've done, even speaking of the sponsorship, to be able to take some of that and put that back in instead of just, going to the movies or something,
right.
Putting that back into.
And I'm looking at, and I don't know, it's going to get cropped a little bit because of the picture-in-picture, but you've got the boom, whatever that's called, the big mic, the radio mic, and then you've got some other gorilla contraption over there. And at this point, how much would you say? Am I looking at $1,000 of stuff? Am I looking at 100, a 10? How much have you sort of put towards up leveling your stuff?
Well, recently I bought this camera, and I think I spent $600 on the camera. And then the lens was a couple $100 more than that. So and it's hard to even talk about it now because I haven't really released a whole lot of content yet where I've figured all that stuff out, if that makes sense. I haven't gotten a lot of good stuff out. Actually, Sunset Over Water recently, I just shot that, and I feel really good about that with some of this new stuff. Yeah.
No, I can't. I haven't seen the review yet, so I'm super curious as to what.
Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully, but no, cool.
Yes, but I don't know. It's you could spend tons of money on lights and stuff like that, but I just say. I bought a new camera, a nicer lens for it than just what came stock on it, and then a lighting kit, and then microphone is really important, I think, just to be able to get better quality audio.
What, you don't like pumping up your audio to 400% to
Yeah.
be able to hear people?
And then you got to dump all this noise reduction, and then it sounds like you're underwater. Yeah.
Hey, man, if anyone wants to know why all my videos start with me sounding all blown out right when I say hello there, and then we go into the interview, it's because basically I just pump it to 400% and put hum reduction on. And actually, in these interviews, it's hard too because we got different mics. But so there's the mic. Well, and so another question I have for you. So for me, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how, like, I feel the same way. I'm not quite ready to make the time commitment to do the editing and camera work quite at the level that I think. I mean, like, I know what good content looks like, right? And I know what's not good content, at least from a video production standpoint. And so I'm not ready. I'm not about to sign up for that work, but boy, it'd be nice to have a better mic and like possibly a better camera. And so I'm actually thinking about doing maybe a little mini Kickstarter to maybe raise a little bit of money, and not even like it's not like I need somebody to fund I'll probably call it a season, but it's not like I'm saying, boy, if I don't have money, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do it anyway. But it'd be nice if like my voice wasn't blown out and you could see stuff. But so there's the camera. And so then in terms of, so you did some YouTube stuff, but like how much effort have you spent in terms of, is it just doing videos and trying to get better, or have you taken classes? Like, are there, I find there's no way in the board game space, like I feel like people who are content creators like hang out at events and like talk about how to like film better, but like, how did you learn? Is it just from doing?
Yeah, I think it's really just like, I guess the way I would put it is like not being happy with whatever you've made, like to look at it with an eye that says, well, that could be better. And I watch TV shows, I watch commercials, I watch how they cut stuff. And then I always think, man, I need to make this tighter. I think Instagram, Snapchat mentality where people are just used to short, clean, well thought out content, and we're not there yet, but that's where I want to go. I want us to get to that place where the things that we do just keeps getting tighter, I guess.
And what's interesting? But one of the interesting things, and it's odd, right, is you have this weird friction where, in some ways, viewers you would think want tighter, better shot, cleaner, quick content, right?
I know what you mean.
I know
where you're going.
But YouTube wants longer, detailed, comment-filled content, and that's actually what they surface. They're not really interested in surfacing one-minute videos as much as they are.
Right.
I mean, to the extent I've been watching the algorithm YouTube channels that have been, but so I think that's an interesting. I find it when I think of YouTube content, it's really hard for me to understand what people like and don't like and respond to. Like, everyone sort of builds their audience over time, but I've come to start feeling like that, people are less. So the Kickstarter reviews are really particular and serve a purpose. And when you do one of those, the different campaigns drive more people and audience, but like they're like, you can sort of bank that they're going to have a big bang and they're going to go and then they'll disappear and then they'll spike a little bit when the game comes out and that kind of thing, right?
Right.
But I feel like the reviews, I feel like people sometimes watch a review to validate or not, but I don't think a lot of people in general are like sitting there watching reviews. I mean, again, there's certain audiences certain content that have like an audience, but I feel like when I do reviews, it's like people don't generally watch reviews. If I do a review of a game that's sort of hot or people are interested in, that gets some traction. But like, there's a lot of reviews that people just don't seem to, like, why would they're not interested? And then on the other hand, I think how to plays and rule videos, those are the ones where I think people more actively like, I just bought this game. I want to learn how to play. Where can I find a 5-minute how to play? Like, I think that, what do you think about content? Like, what's worked for you? What hasn't?
I think you're exactly right. personally, I can't say that I've ever sat around and said, let's see what so and so has put out lately. I'm usually looking for a game specifically that I've either heard about or I'm considering purchasing. And then the flip side to that is I just bought this game and now I need to learn how to play it. Those are really the two. And so I don't know, which is kind of weird because we don't do how to play videos because they're so stinking complicated. Like, I don't know how these guys do them, because people can be brutal. And if you miss one little thing, they're just like, you're a dummy. And I don't have the patience or the time. And I don't know how people do how to play videos, because that's got to take 100 times more effort and energy.
I mean, I dreaded I have to typically do them for, the punt to first game stuff, right? And this time again, I'm getting frustrated by the, not being a professional at this. And for a little while, Tiffany was on Siblings Trouble. There's a confluence of things happening, and I actually for a little period, I hired her to do some film work. She came to a con, she filmed, and the difference between having somebody who knows what they're doing and just doing it yourself is it's like anything where you're like working with an expert. But so, and you guys never branched into so I did this thing where I branched into the League of Game Maker stuff and how Kickstarter. Have you guys considered doing anything sort of aside from the reviews, or not really? You're sticking to that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, for a while there, I was really on this kick of I wanted to do a lot of collaborations and try to work with other people. And I just put the feelers out there and got nothing back. And so I guess I'm kind of gun shy for a while, where I thought, well, I guess maybe, for whatever reason, it's just not there. So to be honest, we just haven't pursued it to see if there would be anything. Did you
ever do a guest review on my channel? I can't remember.
We did one. Of course, that's been a few years ago.
It was Andor. It was
Legends of Andor.
Legends of Andor. Yeah. I found that it takes a lot of energy to get somebody to jump in and do that kind of guest review or do that thing. I have found this Q&A thing to be successful because in many ways it's like, hey, you guys, you want to talk for half an hour, 45 minutes, we'll film it.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's tough. And, again, it's always also curious what people are interested in. But I think it's fun to be able to work with other people and sort of do that type of collaboration when you can,
Well, to me, that's been the most rewarding thing, is getting to know guys like you and game designers and publishers and just guys that even were starting out and then their game blew up or something. It's just really cool that you get to work with people, especially through Kickstarter, and then you build relationships with these people. To me, it's been a lot of fun.
And that's really been the cornerstone of all of this. I mean, again, my entry with going to a board game, sort of convention, not like a board game night, and meeting Tiffany and I actually met what's that guy's name? Fristo, Teal, and then Teal introduced me to Tiffany, and I got to know and meet people and get connected. But no, I think it would be nice to network and continue to meet and engage with people. So, all right. To get back to more questions, because I got a list and I got some time. All right, so that we sort of went over the YouTube stuff and we talked about you leveling up. And for those who are watching, I think if you go to the Board Game Reviewers chat Facebook page and other places, I think it's really been interesting the questions you've been asking as you've been working through the lighting behind you and the sort of open source help me edit my room thing has been and you have it looks like you're not on your dining room table. Like, do you have setup and breakdown, or do you basically position your stuff and leave it there?
Well, it's actually, when we got this house a couple of years ago, I was looking for a game room. And then, so this is an upstairs room, and this is kind of a dedicated space for me. And for the most part, I can kind of set up and leave it. Right now, it's a total wreck because I've just been playing with lighting. And so I've been moving, like I moved my table forward, I pushed my table back, I set up a light over here. I bought a work light at, Walmart and stuff. And so I've just been trying all kinds of stuff. And so that is nice because Whereas before, rewind maybe a month or two ago, we were doing set up teardown, doing videos every Wednesday night after church kind of thing at the church. And so now that I can do it here at 3 a.m., I guess if I wanted to shoot a video, I can. And so I think long term, this is totally going to be the better scenario for
I
me.
can imagine. I mean, you know, I just try to have my wife not kill me. I mean, this is the dining room, the kitchen,
The corner,
right there.
yeah.
But so okay, so you that's sort of the YouTube stuff, and then you make this transition into podcasts, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, what is that like? How do you do it? Like, if you're a YouTuber, what does it mean to transition to a podcast? How do you like do that? Do you just record yourself or what?
It's been really well. I do voiceover work on the side, so I do like these little nothing major at all, just small little voiceover jobs, you know, for commercials and, you know, voicemails for people. And so I had this microphone for that, and that was actually my lead way into it because it was same kind of thing with the videos.
When you say I do voicemails for people, like funny voicemail, like what does that mean? I understood the commercial part, but what does it mean to do voicemail for people? I'm sorry.
Like business stuff. So like somebody wants you call to their business, Joe's Tire Shop, you know, and they don't want, you know, Bob to do or Joe to do the recording. I do it and say, thanks for calling, press 1 for accounting. Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah. But that's not the bulk of what I do. Most of the time,
I just wanted to understand. All right. Go on.
So I had the microphone to do those things, and so then I was like, why don't we do this? I'd always wanted to do as a kid to be in a radio. I volunteered or did like an internship at a radio station growing up. So I thought this would be kind of cool to talk. And so the pace of my life and schedule, I knew that I couldn't really sit down with other people and do a podcast. So I thought, but I could do it at 3 a.m. or 11 p.m. whenever I have some extra time. So I just decided to do it. And so because I don't have anybody to bounce banter with, I tried to keep my podcast really short. So to begin with, it was about 30, 45 minutes because I kind of felt like, I kind of feel like, you know, some of these podcasts are like 2 hours, like The Secret Cabal, you know, it's like crazy.
No, I know. And it's just actually the hardest part for me is it's like impossible. Somebody needs to invent, and maybe it's but like annotated podcast software that lets you like jump to sections in an easy, simple way, like trying to find a thing. And like they need to do it in the software so the recording person doesn't have to do it after. Like they're just, does this exist? Does what I'm describing exist?
I don't know if it does or not, but I wish it would. Yeah. Because I'm the same way. I listen to the Dice Tower podcast. And the problem I have with podcasts is if they start talking about a game that I'm not interested in, well, then now it's just like click, you know, swipe your finger trying to find your way to the next game and you get lost. It's difficult. It's really awful.
Especially like when it's in some video where, or like on your phone where you're like, it's like 3 hours in like an inch. And you're like, come on.
It's awful. Absolutely awful. You know, so I tried with my podcast because I knew I didn't have anybody to talk with for a couple hours in my schedule. I said, let's try to keep it short. So I try to do just little sections where every week I review 3 board games. I do an interview with someone, maybe 2 interviews. I have some kind of topic that I talk about, like gateway games or, you know, whatever it might be at the end. And then that's it. And I don't know, hopefully it's actually gotten better view counts or listen counts than even our YouTube channel. And so that's kind of been a unique discovery to go from videos to audio, because I didn't think it would actually be that way. I thought it would be the other way. But,
my impression is just that the people who listen to podcasts far outnumbers people who watch videos, like in the game or hobby space, not in the like Guardians of the Galaxy trailer category, right? So are you using like audio? What recording software do you use?
I'm in the Adobe world, so I do I have the Adobe Creative Suite, so I do Adobe Audition and Adobe Premiere for videos, but Audition specifically for podcasts.
Audition's the one where they did that announcement like 6 months ago where they showed that they could, like, with 1 minute of sound from somebody, rewrite what they're saying with it. Does that work for you?
Probably, yeah. I do a lot of magic with mine. I'm telling you, I like cut stuff, and even with interviews with people, I'll take something they said at the end and put it in the middle, and just try to create this story. Because a lot of times in interview, I mean, sometimes you just wander off, and then when you try to cut stuff apart because maybe something
Oh,
was irrelevant,
it
it's difficult to
it
stitch it back together.
especially if it's with a video, right? I mean,
Woo!
you could put. I need to just start having B-roll of like sunsets. Um, but okay, but
Yeah.
so you record. So why didn't you just film and record it? Like, why isn't? I mean, for that purpose, for the ability to edit, like, why aren't you just recording yourself and exporting out the audio? Or is that
Well,
crazy?
like with our video reviews, they might be 15 minutes long or something at the most. We try to keep them under that. And so that one 15-minute video might take me an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, especially if you're adding B footage and close up shots of things. And so I just knew if I'm going to make a 45-minute podcast and then add audio into it,
Yeah,
and then like what you're saying, splice it, and then every take that I make has to be perfect. I've got to
yeah,
smile and I mean, it just adds a whole nother level to,
for sure.
and so the audio, man, I can be, in my underwear and recording a podcast, and it doesn't
I mean,
matter.
wait. I mean, you still could be in your underwear right now, but we'll leave that alone.
Well, we'll
Um,
never know.
but so, right, and that the what I found with these interviews that I'm doing on these Q&As, if you go back to my earlier ones, I actually this software is cool because it lets me pull out just me, just you, us together. I can do more than that. But in the earlier ones, I was actually splicing it together so that like when I was talking, it would be me, and then when we're talking, it's both, and then. But I don't have Premiere, and I'm just using iMovie, and iMovie can only handle 2 streams. Like in Premiere, you can set up like 4 cameras, 4 files, and just sort of do the TV producer like camera 2, camera. And I was doing it and editing it and doing that for a 45-minute conversation, a 30-minute conversation takes forever. And
Yeah,
so
it does.
it was sucking up all this time. And then I did the Mike Pascal video where it bombed out and it was just a mess. And I was just like, I finally got the audio just to be right. And I was like, it's just side by side the whole way. And
Yeah,
no one really cared or noticed. And so now they're all just, I have a little thing and they're all just side by side. No, no,
side by
I'm not gonna
side.
do it. And I think a lot of people actually just listen and they treat it
Hmm.
like a podcast. Like honestly,
Hmm.
I most YouTube content that I watch that's long form, I actually just listen to while
Hmm.
biking or working out or doing something else. So I'm not actually looking like almost any of the Dice Tower stuff. I don't do that way, or even like political stuff and non boogie stuff and not non board game stuff is
Hmm.
I'll just put it on and not be watching it. Um,
Right. Yeah. I'm
but
the same way. And I think that there's a lot of people that were asking me to even do, not a lot of people. I had like 2 people, okay, being honest, but I had 2 people that asked me to do a video version of the podcast and throw in like graphics of the games that I was talking about, and
yeah,
things like that. And that sounds awesome, but I just don't have the time. It goes back to the time issue. If you're trying to do this every week or every other week and release a video review every week, it's a lot more. My wife and I even had a conversation about this the other day about, time consuming content, and what's the right balance, because it
yeah,
is a hobby, and so how do you balance all that? And sometimes you just have to say, it's just going to be audio and I'll be okay with that.
yeah. I think that's really the challenge, and there's a lot of talk about the effort that goes into these things and people reflecting on it. But I was looking just the other day, maybe a week or two ago, I was looking at like I'm posting 6 videos a week, seven
I don't
videos a
know.
week.
Yeah.
How did
Uh-huh.
that happen? And it's a lot of minutia in there, right? And I think the only thing for me, the thing that, not the only thing, but like one of the things that I like about doing the YouTube content in particular myself is being somebody who so regularly like my day
Hmm.
job, I got to manage people. My family,
Right.
I maybe not managing, but dealing with people. I gotta
Right.
and children. I gotta and then when Pens of First Games, it's these project based things that distributed people and manufacturing. It's all like you always have to worry about everyone else. What I
Uh-huh.
real for me at least on the YouTube side, it's like no, all I gotta do is find. I just gotta get everyone else away. Like I gotta find the time when they're not around me to
Uh-huh.
film. Um,
Uh-huh.
but so that's been really good for me. So with so I understand you're up leveling your stuff. You've got this 4K camera. You're working on it. I saw your dolly. You did the 30-second review thing, and I was like, how does this guy have that time? And so you're getting better at that. You're sort of getting into the sponsored podcasty thing with Druid City Games, and so have you? Do you sort of feel like you're about at capacity and you just want to get better? Or are you thinking about doing new things? Like, what do you have do you have any objectives for your channel, or is it still just like, hey, I just want to make some content and have fun?
Well, I actually talked about this same thing tonight. We were talking about where is this even going? What is, how far do you get? Because I don't foresee. I know a lot of guys would absolutely love to do this kind of thing full time, and I think that would be an awesome thing. But I don't see that in the books for me, and so I kind of am taking a step back. Undead Viking did a video recently about
burnout
about that, and what are you doing this for? And so it helped. That video actually helped me a lot. Even though I didn't get to finish all of it, but it helped me a lot to step back and say, well, why am I doing this?
He made his point about 7 to 10 times within the 30 minutes. If you watch the 2/3 of it, you hit most of it, trust me.
You got it all. Okay, I don't feel so bad. But yeah, so for me, I kind of stopped and thought, I really do want to create quality content for people to see. And if that catches the eyes of some people, that's awesome. If that throws some sponsorship our way at some point, that's pretty cool. But as far as the level, I mean, a podcast and a weekly video for me, man, that's about all I got, and that might be all my wife would let me do.
Well, it's a balance, man.
Mm-hmm. And even the podcast, like people think, you talk for 45 minutes, that should be it, but same kind of thing. I interview these people. I have to edit it down. It's a lot to it, and I'm not complaining at all because I genuinely do enjoy it. But it's just a reality check to say, you know what, that's pretty good. And if I can make what I'm doing better, the podcast better interviews, talk to more people, do better interviews, and not better as in the ones I've done haven't been good, but I just mean learn how to interview people better and get more interesting content and then shoot better videos. If I can do that and then step back and say, I've added a quality podcast and a quality video channel to the community that I love, I'm pretty happy with that. So.
Yeah, man, I totally agree, and you had mentioned earlier in the chat about sort of working with somebody and seeing them be successful. I know, like, somewhat recently there was Manny and Nate who did Dice Throne, and I get all grades of Kickstarters, and it's a free service, so I'm for a lot of people. I think it's true for a lot of different campaigns, but I'm often one of the only people that reviews or somebody who's first. Not always, because and so, seeing them be successful, and then I'll help them with their page and I'll give them some advice. And, it's like I've done the Kickstarter stuff. And then seeing somebody, their one Kickstarter is more successful than any ones I've ever done. Right. So but seeing that success is really nice. It's great in the industry to see it happening. So,
well,
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say what you're doing with the League of Game Makers to me is just, there's something, and I don't know, maybe it's whatever people say it's a pipe dream, or maybe it's too sentimental, or whatever the word is, but giving back is a cool thing, and when I first got into the hobby and I watched other people's content that weren't getting paid, that weren't sponsored by anybody, it helped me. And now you fast forward to whatever little stuff that I'm doing, it's pretty cool, and you want to be able to pass that on.
Hey man, I'll tell you, there aren't that many podcasts / reviewers who can be like, hey, I'm sponsored. I mean, there definitely exists, but you just thrust yourself into an upper echelon. But and presumably, if some other company saw this and wanted to get on your radar for some sponsorship or that kind of content, you'd be interested in that conversation, I would assume.
Yes, I will reply to that email.
And so the other thing, I'm sort of out of time here, but I definitely think, I feel like, I don't know if it happens or not, but I feel like the upper level content creators connect with each other and have conversations. But I feel like next con, whether it's one of the bigger, whatever, like BGG maybe, I don't know who's going to be there, or Origins next year, or just something, we should all the little guys. I mean, everyone would be welcome, but we should all get together and just connect and chat. Be like, what kind of camera do you use? What editing
exactly.
Can you believe that thing? What have you? One of the funny things because I've been connecting more with reviewers and just for the interviews and stuff like that. And I posted like my like here's how I manage my calendar of reviews and stuff. The other thing I think is really interesting is seeing, it's really to Kickstarters, seeing who has what Kickstarters in their lineup and who doesn't is always, it's interesting to see like what game, like you posted a picture about Yamatai, for example. This was like yesterday or today even, an hour ago. I don't know when it was. But, you know, I reviewed that. But I'm very curious to know what you think once you play it. So, it would be neat for us to get together and just chat as a group or some subset.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it'd be good or bad for me to know all the games that you're going to get to preview because sometimes I'm totally jealous.
Really? I don't. I mean, I guess. Yeah, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
this is nice. The thing here's a little creator secret. If I haven't gotten to your game review, don't be upset because that means it's sitting here, right here, and it's in every video until I do.
That's awesome.
This one. I don't know if have you gotten this one, Haunted House?
No.
Man, I haven't played, so I can't say anything about it. But like, I just opened this thing up and like, I don't know if you can see it. It's just like, I just want to play it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, I feel like I usually get the smaller groups. I don't really get that many big games, but I don't know, maybe not.
Well, and that's another reason to up our quality is I'm hoping that, you know, even the quality of people, you know, because I know like what Pencil First does. I mean, you guys put so much into your prototypes just to get them to the reviewer. And that's not the case with a lot of people. You know, a lot of people will send out stuff, you know, and you're just like, I don't know if anyone needs to see this on camera at all. I think it would hurt your campaign more than help it. And so I'm hoping that, you know, upping the quality of what we do even attracts some people that are a little bit more invested in their project ahead of time before Kickstarter, you know.
It'll be interesting as and I'm going to close that soon, but it's going to be as more content creators are charging money. I think that you're going to see an interesting shift where a lot more of that content starts filtering towards, you know, newer, smaller reviewers who aren't charging.
Yeah.
But, you know, because there's that interesting balance between I just need it to be reviewed for the content versus I'm looking for your network, right? Like when I'm like,
right.
I want to use this big service because they're basically going to have all you know, they're going to bring their own audience to it as opposed to that. But, you know, it's been interesting. Also, I'll tell you, I mean, I don't know what's worth anything anywhere, but like there are lots of groups that have come and gone, like who have just steamed ahead in terms of subscribers, right? Like if you look at subscribers and stuff like that, and I don't care, but it is interesting to me when I see content that's sort of exploding, right? Like it's like, why is that content exploding? And like Unfiltered Gamer, he took off really quickly. James Hudson took off really quickly. You know, and it's interesting when somebody hits that audience or that magic or has that video that sort of gets them into the next category. It's interesting to see content creators who start popping when they do, like a hit game sometimes does, you know?
Well, it is weird, disheartening, discouraging sometimes when you're like, we've been doing this for 4 years and, you know, we get our measly 20 subscribers a month, you know, these new kids get off my lawn type stuff, you know, but it is cool. And there's stuff to be learned from them for sure, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, it's not only, you know, it's like Herbaceous and we mentioned Sunset Over Water, like, you know, you have these games and where they're like really this great synergy of play and look and feel and sort of targeted, and you really understand what they're very product-like because you really understand who's going to enjoy it and who's going to have that fun. And then you just have these sort of wild creative things like Siblings Trouble, which is like this betweener game effort that took 3 years to make, but like audiences only have so much. It's not exactly risk, but you know, sometimes if it's harder to swallow something, not because it's bad, but just it's like, oh, this is nothing like, I don't know how to play it already. Right. It can struggle, right? And I think there can be some really great content, but that doesn't have that mass market uptick, right? And so, you know, I try to focus on comments, people making notes, appreciating the work, to sort of be the inspiration as opposed to worrying about whether this video got that many views or this video got that many views. But
well, and you alluded to it earlier, talking about, view counts are directly connected to, I think, popularity of the game, because you could review some game, do amazing quality content that is just awesome, great commentary, but if no one cares about that game or if no one's searching for it, it's going to, trickle in the views. So you can't let that affect you, I guess, if you're really concerned about creating content about a game that you love or hate.
Yeah, and I think, and we'll see. Well, this will be danger territory in terms of what happens. But yeah, like sometimes it's like, well, if I just focused on the hotness and doing those videos and doing up the quality, like you could think of it like a job. Like you could think about like, how am I gonna do this to be more successful, to build it? I mean, not in an absolute a wonderful way. The Man versus Meeple guys were like, we're going to get this. We're going to go for it, and we're going to create a channel, and we're going to get in here. As opposed to just sort of like, hey, I want to play games, and I'm going to review the games I got. And, but look, I could talk to you for another hour. The problem is, I don't know if it'll save, and then it'll be awful. So let me just quickly say thank you. And check out Board Game Closet and your podcast. I have no idea how to find a podcast. How do you find a podcast?
Just go to our website, boardgamecloset.com.
Go you find it. And otherwise, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Most importantly, play some great games. Bye.
Thanks, man. Yeah.